Alright, so for today's 4K review, we got the new Final Destination Bloodlines. I personally picked mine up from Amazon, and a little bit of regrets there because I immediately noticed that I have 3 dents on the front of my Steelbook, and that's been happening lately with a lot of my Amazon pre-orders. So from the front, it features a skull. This is referencing a scene from the movie in a tattoo parlor. Flip it over and you just get a plain magenta colored back, kind of dark black gradient going on. Besides that, they put no effort in any sort of design for the back. This is coming from a big studio, and I feel like they should really just go all out with the designs for their special collector's edition Steelbook. When you open it up, you do get a Blu-ray of the Final Destination Bloodlines, also a 4K disc as well, and it also showcases a panoramic shot of the restaurant blowing up from the beginning of the movie. And I think this would have been a really cool image to throw on the front of the Steelbook, but no, they just went with the skull. Now honestly, if you haven't picked up the Steelbook and you are interested in getting this movie on 4K, I would recommend getting the slipcover. I just feel that it has a way cooler design, and the Steelbook is just not worth the extra price tag. And if I could give it a score out of 10, I'd probably get it about a 4 or 5. But I guess I am glad I have the movie because it is a pretty good one. Alright, so yeah, that was my Steelbook review. Now let's go ahead and get into the bread and butter of this video, which is going to be the video quality and sound quality. This is a native 4K transfer with Dolby Atmos and Dolby Vision, so I was expecting a lot, to be honest. I don't think the 4K transfer is the reason that this disc is a little underwhelming. I think it's just the overall color grade and tone that this movie has. It is very desaturated. You have a lot of cool blues, and it just doesn't let any of the colors pop. The HDR is almost just like non-existent besides a few scenes that we'll get into later. It's just kind of boring to look at. When I was watching the special features, they showcased some of the scenes from the movie, and those had a better, more vibrant color grade than the actual movie itself. I think the Dolby Vision isn't really shown off that well at all because, like I said, everything is super desaturated and it's just kind of boring to look at. Now, it's not all bad. This disc is super clear. There is not a hint of noise at all. This is obviously shot on some sort of digital camera, and referencing some of the special features, I could see the monitor that they were using, and it was shot around 8.5K. So this is 8.5K downscaled to 4K. This movie is super sharp. The 8.5K really stands out in this as the reason that it's so sharp. Any scene in this movie is just super crispy. If it's not the reflections on metals, if it's not just, seeing someone's pores on a close-up shot, or even seeing the environment and all the little details that go into, like the wood or some leather on a couch, you can see everything. I even stood up from my couch and looked really close at a part from the movie showcasing a car, and I could get really close to my TV without noticing any sort of pixelization from like the resolution being so close up to my eye. I mean, it really held up and it looked really clear. That's pretty much what you got going for it. It's shot digitally, so it's super razor sharp, and it's a native 4K transfer, so you just get wall-to-wall clarity on this. And if you hate grain, there's zero grain in this movie. It also does have some pretty good black levels, and they do make some of the darker scenes pop a lot more on this 4K disc. But for the most part, I would say a lot of the deaths are covered in shadows, or they're just really dark, and you can't really make out all the fine details they did with some of the prosthetics and some of the effects that they do for these kills. Like I said, the Dolby Vision doesn't really pop because it has such a muted and desaturated look, and it kind of suffers from that problem that you get in a lot of these more modern movies, is that there is just no soul behind the color grade, and there is just no style or anything. It's just looks like Rec 709 for the most part with a little bit of a blue tint. It's kind of hard, to pinpoint how I feel about the video quality, because on one hand, it is super clear. Like, it does look good on the TV and it does come across really crispy, but there's just no life behind any of the set design or, the way they light things. And I just feel like it just looks like a very manufactured, clean look. And it almost looks a little bit too manufactured on this 4K. And I just wasn't wowed often enough when it came to this disc. Now, this movie does have Dolby Atmos, so there are some redeeming qualities to this disc when it comes to the audio, but I would say that they're mild redeemable qualities because everything is super crystal clear when it comes to the mix, and it's very easy to hear all the intricate details that they put into the mix. But my problem with the mix was, even when I put this sucker to like 29 volume, and my system goes to about 40 volume, so putting it all the way to 29, you're getting pretty close to maxing out the system, and I just felt like it really wasn't that loud. No matter how loud I put it, it just wasn't overtaking my living room. I didn't feel like it was super loud and immersive. but it is crystal clear. It has a lot of cool sound design moments, and honestly, I don't hate the audio at all. It sounds really, really good, but I was just a little underwhelmed. Another thing that lacks, sadly, is the special features. There's about 4 different special features that you get. One of them is a commentary, which I did not listen to, but there are 3 little featurettes that are included. One going over some of the kills in the movie and just showcasing some interviews from the actors and their thoughts on their overall death scenes and who had the better one. They basically go into the legacy of Tony Todd's involvement in the Final Destination franchise, and it's pretty interesting, but my only issue is, again, I have so many issues on this one. I feel like I'm hating on it. It's a pretty good disc, guys. I'm not hating that hard, but my overall issue with these featurettes is that they feel like something that would have been attached to like an Instagram post or something. It's just very highly edited. It just didn't feel like I was really getting a behind the scenes look when I watched these featurettes. It felt very scripted. It felt like they were just trying to sell me on the idea that this movie is really good and the franchise is really good and they had a lot of fun making it, which is cool. But when I watch special features, I kind of want to see behind all the magic of the movie and see how they did it and kind of learn something. And when I watched these, I didn't feel like I learned anything really. A lot of these special features, I've seen parts of them on Instagram or like just advertisements for the movie. It's just things I've already seen, and it just felt soulless as well, just a little bit too well manufactured, and I just didn't think it really provided anything that I really would go out of my way to watch again. And I think if you like the movie and you want to own it, I think you should still pick it up. When it comes to that crystal clear 4K look, it does do pretty good on that time and does have a few moments that does wow a little bit. It was a little underwhelming, but I did have a few times where I was like, whoa, that looks pretty cool.